talk to you about clinical research networks and some of the stuff that we do all day. So what do I do all day? That's a question that my boss regularly asks me because I have a roving job and I travel all over the place. I also have 4 children, so I spend quite a lot of time reading children's books. That's the only thing on that list that I would say is a thing that I do at home. All the others I do at work, because I'm a network manager. I'm not a normal manager or a proper manager, as some people would say. I manage networks of people. I work to try and get the most out of cardiovascular, stroke, diabetes, renal, metabolic and endocrine research across the whole of Yorkshire, but also any other research that you can kind of think of. And I've looked in a definitive guide to what people do all day, and it doesn't describe what I do, which I think is a bit of an oversight. So what is research delivery? Essentially, it's all about finding ways to take research to people. So we have a cohort of patients, potential participants in research in our region. There's around about 5.7 million people live in Yorkshire, more than Scotland. Interesting, eh? But we are tasked with finding around about 65,000 people a year and getting them into around about 5,000 studies and clinical trials, running across 23 different NHS acute organisations and all the CCGs, prisons, other places that you might do health research, pharmacies as well. So it is a kind of interesting thing. It also is a little bit like, you know, finding a needle in a haystack at times when you're looking for that particular patient and you're in a particular place. And you know, when you're putting presentations together and you Google, can I find a picture of a needle in a haystack? This guy, he's an artist, and in the name of art, went looking for a needle in a haystack. And it makes me happy that it happened, that somebody did that. There you go, metaphor over. So what is it really though? Traditionally, this is what we do. We take a smiling, happy research nurse and we send them to places. We send them to GP surgeries. Now it might work really well if you've got something looking at asthma, say, because primary care is where people might be changing their medication or changing their frequency of something that they might do. We send them to clinics in hospitals, and that's really good if you're looking for a new clinical trial of a cancer drug, for example, because you know that people are going to be turning up at a certain place in a certain time, and you probably also know their diagnosis. We also do a really, really interesting thing, which is we take this amazing person here with a brilliant skill set and we ask them to do database searches. And you know, some of them can do it and others don't want to do it, and why would they? Because it's not what they're trained to do. That is a picture of a typical NHS computer lab. They all look like that. It's actually not, and I have to tell you that I went to get this particular laptop here fixed in the trust that I work for the other day, and while I was there I said, can I use the loo? And they said, yes you can, it's upstairs. And they work in an old lodge, so I went to the loo, I opened it, there was the loo, there was an old bath, and the bath was full of laptops. There was no water in it, fortunately. So this works. It's a really, really successful model. The UK is doing amazingly well at clinical research at the moment. We've managed to get very, very good at opening trials quickly. We can run them very efficiently relative to the rest of the world. We can do a huge variety of different things, and generally we're getting better and better all the time. We're amazing. Something like 650,000 people each year through our network go into clinical trials. It's quite a remarkable achievement. But what do I do all day? I still haven't answered that question. Now, I'm a manager. I might not be a proper manager, but I'm still a manager. So I get up every day and I try to make graphs point up or down, depending on whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Because if I don't, a shouty man comes and tells me that I'm not doing my job properly, or a shouty woman. We can't get away from the fact. I know the number 65,000 because if we don't hit it, we lose money and everybody gets really, really sad. But I prefer to think of that a different way. We know that this is what people want. We know that if from surveys of the public that something like more than 90% of people want to be approached to be in a clinical trial or some other research study. If they're sick, they want people to be approaching them and saying, we've got this new treatment, what do you think? Are you willing to help us with our research? So I prefer to flip that around. There are lots of shouty men in my life, but I like to think of them as potential research participants, because the longer they keep shouting, the sooner they're going to get in one of my stroke trials, and I'll make my graph point up. So, you might have gathered I'm not a typical sort of NHS manager in other ways. In fact, I've got a degree in computing from the other place. Yeah, not this one, that one. Not proper university. So I know Newcastle quite well. But I'm also the lead for improvement regionally, and I'm a part of a national working group. And we do stuff like training in lean and things like that. And I travel around quite a lot working with teams, helping them to improve their systems and their processes. So I spend quite a lot of time doing that, thinking, how do we get this better? How do we improve what we do? And one of the ways that I go about that is I go running, because I really like it. Because I live. This is a picture of me, and this is me running just just outside the back of my house, because I live in Middle Earth. It's actually not, but it is relevant because I go running with a friend of mine who is the country manager for the North Face, or was the country manager for the North Face. He saw the light and went to work for Patagonia because they're much more ethical. And because we're nice, middle class, thoroughly reconstructed men, when we go out, we talk about childcare and work. That's basically what we talk about. And over the years, Alex and I have shared loads of good ideas from each other's industries about what we do and how we improve stuff and how we make it better. One of the things that he did really struck me. A couple of years ago, he talked about a campaign that they were running to get people into a particular shop at a particular time. So how do you go about that? Well, at the time they were working with a company called Native, as in digital native. Aren't they clever boys? And they do social media marketing. And they work for a company like the North Face, and they are really, really good at what they do, and they're based out of Manchester. So I thought, hold on a minute. You're trying to get people to turn up in your shop to buy some stuff that they don't, some really good stuff. We're trying to get people to turn up in a clinic at the right place at the right time. What's the difference? So I contacted Native, and we worked with them on a study called ESMID, which is a study looking at diabetes run out of Sheffield University. It's about evaluating self-management. So, done online. Oh, brilliant. That's great, isn't it? Now, they used the traditional methods. They got a research nurse. They found a franking machine. They sent out a load of letters to everybody they had in their database. And within 4 weeks, they recruited 140 people. That's actually pretty good in our world. You might expect a typical research nurse at a cost of around about £40,000 a year to recruit 140 in a year.
Wow.
So that's pretty good. Yeah, we're really, really happy with that. But they needed 750. And after their database of everybody that they knew had participated, it fell to a trickle, 2 or 3 a day. So finally I found somebody who was willing to try my crazy idea of using social media, and we managed to recruit 600 people in 4 days for £1,500, which in our world is nothing. No money at all. We spend about £28 million a year to find those 65,000 patients. And I'm sure you're all doing maths. That's cheap. That's really, really good for us. So, as a result of that, I've ended up travelling about talking about a really, really simple technology to loads and loads of different people. Because it's not really about the technology, it's about the fact that people in my world don't tend to think of innovative ways of using digital stuff. If you want to know a bit more about that particular thing, I've written a couple of blogs that are on my LinkedIn page, and stuff that I do on Twitter as well. I then became part of something called the National Accelerating Digital Programme. Now this is something that is run out of our coordinating centre, which happens to be based in Leeds. And what we're trying to do is accelerate the use of digital technologies to support our work in a variety of different ways. And I'm going to fly through this just to give you an idea. Now these next few slides look a little different, look a little bit more corporate, because that's what they are. So one of the things we want to try and do is make more intelligent use of the data that we've got to enable our work. Would it surprise you if I told you that the shouty man that shouts at me is shouting me based on figures, recruitment figures that are 3 months old? Would it surprise you? Not at all. So we're working on ways to make that happen faster so that we can actually shout at each other about real stuff. responding to emerging technology. So obviously there's all kinds of different digital technologies that could help our work, but in particular there's a pathway that research participants follow. So e-consent, the idea that instead of having a paper form, you can do things digitally, is starting to take hold, but people are nervous of it in my world. They don't like it for some reason that I don't fully understand. Looking at having customer-facing activities. Now I'm an unusual person again because I don't mind using the word customer, and I work in the NHS. When I'm talking about a patient, I'll call them a patient. But often what we're doing in our world is trying to reach out to people. We're a network. We're trying to connect over and over and over again. Social media is an absolutely fabulous way of doing that. But many of the people that I work with are not allowed to go on Facebook or Twitter. It's locked down where they work. You can understand why that would be to a certain extent, but also it's a restrictive thing, and it restricts people's mindsets. It stops them thinking about how they could use the stuff that they use very comfortably at home, all their Instagram accounts and all that kind of stuff, in the workplace. So we're trying to unlock that. We're trying to make sure that we have a properly mobile workforce. Now I travel all over the place. I was just asked the question about where do you work? I don't know, kind of in my car, Costa Coffee, wherever I end up. And this actually might be one of the biggest impacts I've ever had in work is that I travel by, I have a laptop which has, thanks to T-Mobile, I can get online in most places, but I also live in the middle of nowhere in Middle Earth, and T-Mobile doesn't have a service there. But you'll all know what Edgerome is. Now, I was at a conference with the man who runs Edgerome, and I said to him on a tweet later on, why can't all of us NIHR.ac.uk people use Edgerome? And he went, no reason why you can't at all. So however many thousands of us are about to get access to something that means that we can actually travel about and do our jobs. Now, if any of you do work with the NHS, you'll know most of the Wi-Fi and everything is locked down for very good reasons to do with governance and data protection. So that's a big improvement that we've managed. And we want to work for an organisation that gets noticed for its digital excellence. And I think I'm going to claim that this is evidence of me, and as part of this programme, getting recognised for our digital ordinariness. And we've got an ambition to move it on to our digital excellence, but a big part of what we're doing here is just getting out and talking, sharing things. We have events when we bring people together, and they're very, very effective in helping us to change. If you want to know a bit more about that, we don't have a website because it's part of a different website, but there's lots of stuff you can follow on Twitter. Now, I travel about, people draw pictures of me now. This happened at an event I was at recently. I'd actually animated a cartoon that they played back at the end of the day. So if nobody draws a picture of me in the next 4 minutes, I'm going to be really, really disappointed. But the point of telling you that is that I've got to a point where I'm wandering around and I'm talking about this. This is not social media marketing. That's not technology even really, is it? It's something that's just out there. It's ubiquitous. We should be kind of using it. And so I go running and I start thinking about what happens next. Now, that whole program that I told you about is designed to network us, to bring us together. It is being really quite effective. We're learning now, so the work that I've done in Yorkshire and the Humber, we're one of 15 networks in the country, is now being used in other networks. So we're getting more efficient at delivering certain types of trials to people. But this is how we are. We're all delightful and lovely, and we share things with each other, and aren't we great? But there's another view on disruption, isn't there? Which it's either going to happen to you or because of you. And I have no idea who this guy is, other than I found this quote on the internet. For all I know, he could be some kind of techno-fascist. But he describes himself as a futurist. So that, I think, it is worthy of note. But this is something that really is worrying me, concerns me at the moment. I was somewhere a little while ago and somebody said to me, so in your industry, what's your Uber? And that scares the pants off me. And not for the reason that you might think. Not because I'm worried particularly about my job, because as you've gathered, I don't have a proper job anyway. But because of what that might mean. Now, in a small way, we've been able to say, you take a normal bit of what we do, you add some social media marketing thinking to it, and you can massively expand the speed at which you can deliver research. Very, very tempting, isn't it? Then to look at the App Store and go, well, hold on a minute, why are we spending £28 million just in Yorkshire and the Humber, and we could do all of this amazing stuff just through the App Store? Why wouldn't we do that? And at some point, we're going to get to a point where there are people claiming that they can do what we do for a fraction of the cost. And some of that will be true, but the problem is that there are something like, I was at a conference the other day, there's something like 200,000 apps in the App Store that claim that they are health apps. And how many of those have any research evidence whatsoever that they do what they say they'll do? Guess? It's a really small number. It's not 250,000, it's not even 100,000, it's more like 3 or 4. So what worries me is that that could be a tempting road that we go down, and any of us who are interested in science and really progressing what goes on might see that our infrastructure starts to crumble. Our ability to deliver really good research that really changes people's lives could be diminished by that temptation. And then we lose these people. And these people are really, really important. Some, person like me with shiny shoes can wander along, do some social media marketing, and deliver 600 patients into a study that will be really interesting and is really, really useful. But that person can sit next to a cancer patient who's just had a diagnosis and enroll them ethically and sensibly into a study that may prolong their life, certainly will give us really, really important evidence for the future. And if we undermine that by thinking, the tech gods can save us, then we've got a real problem. So, the future that I want is that we find some elegant solutions to the management problems that people like me face. Some of those will be technological, some of them will be some of the stuff that I do is so unbelievably simple. Does anybody know what the 5 whys is? Come across that? No? Okay. Well, maybe I'll come, if we've got time, I'll come back to that at the end. But essentially, it's a way that I get to pretend that I'm my youngest daughter while being at work by asking the question why over and over again. But it's really, really important that we have evidence-based healthcare. Now, the potential for wearables and apps and so on is absolutely huge. We waste a lot of time, we waste a lot of money collecting data in ways that can be done more efficiently, as long as that's done properly. And people like Apple are beginning to wake up for this. They've developed a system that people can now develop health standard applications and so on, but it's early days. I want us to build a system that has some compassion and some community in it. Otherwise we're going to lose so much. And this is a personal thing. I think it should have a little bit of art, a little bit of beauty, a little bit of fun in it as well. That's matters. Otherwise it gets boring, doesn't it? Really, really boring, and then who cares? And then Uber can do it. So I've got this idea, and I sometimes call it digital research nurse. And the thinking is that what if we could link these things together? So we've got some little tricks around social media. We bring the e-consent. You've got some wearable technology, some remote digital data collection, and analysis that's live. You bring that together to do the stuff that's easy in research, but do it really, really well. Not the complex clinical cancer trials, the stuff that starts to get you towards the complex kind of cancer trials. And I think that is entirely possible with the technology that's out there. It's entirely possible with changing ways of thinking, but it's not going to happen without some disruption to the way of thinking that is prevalent in clinical research across the country, across the world, frankly. If we can do it, then that's going to be me. And as Toby knows, I've just started to learn ballroom dancing, so that's what I'm aiming for. Kevin Bacon, come on. But the truth is, I don't know how to get from here to there. So I'm hoping that maybe some of you people would have an idea or two for me. And that's it. Thank you.